Shalom, shalom, shalom. Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shah, Barakatham. All right? And that just means peace and blessings from our God, the Most High God, and his son, Mashiach Yahweh Shah, all right? Who the world calls Jesus Christ. So we are here to teach our so-called brothers and sisters of the Black, right, or African American or Negro community, as well as the Latinos, okay, and the Native Americans, that they are the true Israelites that the Bible speaks of, right? Contrary to popular belief, the people who you see calling themselves the Jews, they are not the Jews, okay? The term Jew refers to the southern kingdom of the Israelites that are recorded in the Bible, all right? And according to biblical history, prophecy, and archaeology, this is how we discover these things, okay? Now, this is a patrilineal lineage. If you go to the book of Numbers, chapter 1 and verse 18, it'll tell you how the ancient Israelites were able to determine whether they were a part of Israel. And it reads, "And they assembled all the congregation together on the first day of the second month, and they declared their pedigrees after their families by the house of their fathers, according to the number of the names." So listen, we determine our pedigree by the house of our fathers. This has always been the way that we've done it throughout biblical history. And this is the way that we should continue to do it now. All right. Do not be fooled into thinking that the people group of the Israelites has discontinued. No people group in the Bible has discontinued. Instead, they've had children, they've populated throughout the earth, and through various different historical events, they've been spread to different regions of the earth. And now the question is, who are the Israelites today? And we're telling you that they're the Blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans of Negro indigenous descent. All right. And these are the three ways that we seek to prove that, like I said before, through history, archaeology, and biblical prophecy. You'll see multiple videos on the channel dealing with biblical prophecy and history. We're going to start getting more into archaeology. But if you take a look at our main channel, one of the first videos that pops up is the archaeology that supports the Bible. Okay, so go and check out our main channel. We'll plug that at the end of the video, but do your research. No longer should you have this Bible in your house. No longer should you have all this information that's available at your fingertips in the year 2022 and not go back and study these things for yourself. All right. And that's what we're here for. So this is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 17 and verse 4. And it says, "And thou, even thyself, shall discontinue from thy heritage which I gave thee, and I will cause thee to serve thy enemies in a land that thou knowest not. For you have kindled a fire in mine anger, which shall burn forever." Now, the way to understand the Bible is by using other verses within the Bible to prove what the Bible is saying. These verses are called cross references, and sometimes they're also referred to as precepts. All right. This verse in Jeremiah is speaking to a particular people group. Who is it speaking to? It's speaking to Israel. All right. When we look at the context of Jeremiah chapter 17, this is obviously speaking to Israel. And the Lord says that they shall discontinue from their heritage. What is a heritage? A heritage is a culture. A heritage is a way of life. It's the customs. It's the God you serve. It's your family structure. All of these things encompass your heritage. And once again, there's a cross reference and there are precepts to back that up and to prove that. The book of Deuteronomy chapter 33 and verse 4 tells us that the law is our heritage as Israelites. So no, the law is not done away with because God gave it to you as a heritage and as a way of life. The book of Exodus chapter 6 and verse 8 tells us that the land is our heritage, right? So after all is said and done, all the biblical prophecies point to us going back to our land, and we shall have heaven on earth. We do not believe that heaven is a mystical place far away on a different planet. We believe that the Most High God is going to give us the land promised to our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, just as foretold throughout the scriptures. And he's going to bring us back to that land, and we're going to serve him forever, right? So all of these things are our heritage. Okay, and then the next part says, and I will cause thee to serve thine enemies in the land which thou knowest not. Now, it's very important to understand that the Lord did not send these enemies against us to kill us and destroy us, as it says in the book of Baruch, but he sent them against us because we did not obey his law, statutes, and commandments. So we need to turn back to the old path in order to regain what was lost, all right? But this is another major point of emphasis. I will cause thee to serve thine enemies in the land which thou knowest not. The reason that's so important is because we don't even know we have enemies, right? But historically speaking, the people who destroyed us systematically, the conquistadors that came into South America and Mexico, the Portuguese and the Spanish that colonized all of our brothers and sisters down below the border, right? All of these people groups, the French, all of these so-called white nations had a hand on our destruction. And not only did they become our enemies and cause us to serve them, but they brought us to a land that we had never seen before. All right? They brought us to a land that we've never seen before. And when we look at the transatlantic slave trade, you'll be able to prove that and demonstrate that with history and archaeology, because you can see that the so-called black man left the shores of Western Africa and was spread throughout the four corners of the earth via slave ship. All right? The same thing with the Native Americans and the people of indigenous descent. A lot of them were actually shipped across the earth as well. If you read the story of Pocahontas, if you read about a guy named Squanto, these people were displaced from their land. They weren't the only ones. Many other Native Americans and indigenous Latino people, or indigenous people who we now call Latino, those people were also done the same way. All right. So all of these things have come to pass, which means that we must be the people that the Bible is speaking of. All right. So we have two things to do. We got to return to our culture, and we have to return to our God. And when we return to our culture, it brings us back into a relationship where we're serving our God. All right. And the only way to do that is by following these laws, statutes, and commandments that are kept in the Bible. And that's why the book of Hebrews in the New Testament, right? Because we've been taught that the law is done away with in the New Testament. But the book of Hebrews in the New Testament, chapter 8 and verse 10 reads this: for this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, saith the Lord. I will put my laws into their mind and write them on their hearts. And I will be to them a God, and they will be to me a people. You see that? So the new covenant that the Lord is trying to make, number one, is with Israel. All right? We're in the New Testament, and we still talking about Israel. We're not talking about the whole world. We're talking about making a covenant with Israel. And not only will he make a covenant with Israel, but that covenant will put the laws back in their hearts. So now it's going to be impossible for your enemies to scatter you to the four corners of the earth and separate you from your God. All right? Let's read Revelation 22 and 14. All right? And this is the last book of the Bible, the last chapter of the Bible. All right? And it reads, blessed are they that do his commandments, that they may have right to the tree of life and may enter in through the gates into the city. All right? So these are the things we must do if we want to come back to our culture, if we want to come back to our God. Continue to follow us. We have classes Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and every Sabbath morning on Facebook. All right? On the Sons of Thunder Israelites main page. You can click this button to find your way to that main page. We have other edification on Patreon, on TikTok, on Instagram, Facebook, and multiple YouTube channels. Follow us. Continue to support the ministry. We appreciate y'all. Shalom.